try to do some intro. And let me come up with something.
You want me to do
it? No, this is my podcast. I do it.
Welcome to CoffeeIs.me podcast, where me means you, or more precisely, us. This is the show where your host, Valerian, without using any interrogation techniques, convinces coffee professionals to reveal their secrets to teach and inspire you to make better coffee and earn a few bucks on the side, if that's what you fancy. Let the show begin.
Hey, Coffee is Me listeners, welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Coffee is Me. It's Sunday morning, so I might be a little bit slow, but I have somebody who is much faster and more energetic called Gleason. Hey Gleason, how are you?
What's going on, V? I am excited to be here.
I can hear that, man. Where do you get your energy?
Coffee, and I just kind of have to I'm just born with that way. I'm just always energetic. Unless you catch me like at 5 a.m., then I'm not.
I remember that because you attended our course, and we'll talk about it a bit later. And I remember your energy, man. It was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a lot of me pretending to be fake around people, you know.
So, guys, you have to realize that Gleason is super funny guy, and he has this kind of dry humor, which I really, really enjoy. But just be aware of that sometimes he says something and it's supposed to be funny.
Some people will not find it funny at all, but then there's some people that'll just be in the back like, I got it.
No, it's so refreshing, man. I love this kind of humor. And Willem Booth, you know, the guy I work with, he has similar humor, and I love it. And we love that because it's dry, and you need a little brain to kind of get it sometimes, right? So sometimes I look at Willem and it's like, is he serious or is he joking? Oh, yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, kind of thing. So just to put you on spot, you work with coffee. You have a coffee company called Minimalist Coffee, right? And you are in a beautiful Alabama.
I am in Auburn, Alabama, the most beautiful plains, and we actually lost our football game yesterday, so I'm a little sad. Yeah, I know it cut a little deep, but you know it's okay. I still have coffee, so I'm okay.
I never been in Alabama, but I really wanted to go to those lands. So maybe one day.
We talked about the barbecue stuff. How I told you how to find the best barbecue.
Yeah, I definitely will consult you on that.
Number one is make sure they have a pig on the sign. That's how you know.
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of pork. Like the forever god of food, Anthony Bourdain once said, is that a pig is a noble beast.
I agree with that. Pork is probably some of the best that you can get.
All right. Gleason, my first question usually is about your first sip of coffee. Do you remember your first sip of coffee?
I don't remember my exact first sip of coffee because like that would probably be weird if I did. But I remember when I was I don't know, probably like 8, 7, something like that. We used to go with our family friends to the lake every weekend when I was a kid. And on Saturday mornings, my mom would make coffee, and I remember she would let me have 1 cup of coffee, and that was something that I would look forward to. Like, I didn't care about going, on the water, playing with friends. It was like, I get that cup of coffee with I'm sure it had so much sugar and creamer in it, but, like, I just remember always being so excited about that, and, like, after that, like, I was just as happy as can be. That's probably why I have so much energy. Like, got messed up as a kid because of that. Like I overloaded myself, and now it's still all just coming out.
it's like one of those things when a superhero is put in some kind of liquid or something, accidentally falls into something and it gives him the superheroes.
Within me, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it works, it seems. One of the reasons why I invited you for the podcast is that you came to our lab or campus twice. Once you had to leave and then you finished your course in September. And I remember when you came first time, it was June. I
think it was July.
That's right. It was July. You had your business in your head, right? You just kind of were playing with it.
Yeah, so I already had the business, but I was using a local roaster to help me. It wasn't me roasting it. And I don't know, after like, so I launched the company in April, like April 12th. And after like a month or so, I was, more in love with it and the idea of coffee and like just the business and everything, that I felt like I wasn't doing a service to, customers and people who really believed in me, because it's not that I was faking anything. I was very transparent, but I didn't feel that like, oh, I created this and people are happy about it. I was just kind of repackaging what somebody else was doing, and I didn't like that. And so I actually found y'all's course through this podcast, which
Mm.
is crazy enough. Like I remember I was looking up coffee podcasts, and Coffee is Me was definitely ranked like number like 90 out of like 10. But uh, that was a joke, by the way. It's like actually like it was like ranked like in the top 5 podcasts for coffee, actually, in the on the website
Wow.
that I looked up. Yeah. And so I remember listening to, it was the episode where I forgot who his name was, but he has Clutch Coffee, where he has
Mhm.
all of those, and I thought that was just really cool, and that was something that like I've thought about before. And so I remember going to the website and like, you know what, this is what I need to do. I want to learn how to do coffee, like actually roast it and create instead of just using somebody else's. And so that was like a big turning point for me in the business. That's when I ended up not shutting down, but just kind of putting a halt on everything so that I could begin to learn and perfect that roasting craft, so that it truly is coming from me, and giving this service and this luxury basically to customers and family and friends and everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you came, first of all, I did not know that you found Boot Coffee through this podcast, which is awesome. But
I didn't want to get your head bigger than it is.
I thought so. But the thing about that when you came first time, yes, you had all these ideas and you told me about your business, and I was like, cool, charming. We have hundreds of people like that. And then you came back, and suddenly I see that in this few months, because this was a 3 months difference, suddenly there is a business there. Not only that, but recently you sent me some coffee, and I was like, oh, let's check it out. What you're doing. I checked out your website, your Instagram, and I was like, things are happening so fast. Like I know companies who we trained them to be roasters, let's say 2 years ago, and they did not caught up with your branding or everything. Like basically, you put it together so fast. I was like, let's talk about it because I think that's very inspirational. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, well, first off, did you think I was going to come back, or did you think I was just done after I had to leave?
I don't know because you said that you have some family issue. Most of the people come back, and people who don't want to come back, they just say that no, this is not for me. And especially, I know that you are from Alabama, and I know that you are super transparent and honest. I hope that you come back.
I did see, because like whenever like I actually I was like, it was because of like some family stuff that was going on that I had to get back for. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sure they think that I'm not coming back," but I signed up, like, as soon as I think it was, like, I messaged you about signing up for the next one even before it was, like, posted. I was like, "I need to come back. I need to finish this. Like, I don't wanna just be, like, halfway through it. Like, I wanna see it through."
Well, as once, I'm a little bit sorry that you signed up for the SCA roasting course because now, as I know more what you're going through, I really the Coffee Lab Pro is much better match for you because that's all about business. And coffee SCA coffee roasting is really deep coffee roasting class. The SCA Lab Pro, sorry, the Coffee Lab Pro, which we do with, it's our own course at Boot. It's much more like, yeah, it's roasting, but much more into like business and how to make money. And students help each other too because everybody has some kind of vision. So anyway, maybe next time hopefully you come back if and we can continue that. But let's continue with your business because I want to know, like, okay, so you are in Alabama. What's the coffee scene there now, and why you decided to do coffee and not socks, for example?
So the coffee scene in Alabama is there's a few roasters here, especially in Auburn. Um, and like I was using them, but I have nothing bad to say about any of the roasters here. It's all great coffee, and I think that's one of the amazing things about that there being like a few of us here is because it's really getting people into these different um, cups of coffee, these different, regions and countries that they come from, and it's not just your basic bland, like this tastes like just dirt water. It's actually, and I think that's something that like I really got from you guys is, you guys are doing all this because you want there to be better coffee in the world. And I think
Mhm.
that's a great thing that Alabama, at least in Auburn, is really beginning to go on because we have a bunch of new coffee shops that have been popping up, and it's just good coffee that's really getting people like into it. Like there's more conversation, there's more thought behind it instead of just this is my go-go juice. Like,
Mhm.
that's fine if that's what you're using it for, but it's really kind of, like a wine scene where it's like you have these notes and everything, like, people are really starting to get into that, and I think that's a growing thing here, because we are starting to have a few more pop up.
You already said that there are some companies there, so how did you want it to differentiate from them?
So my biggest thing is I wanted to really have a story behind what it was, not just another company. And that's something that you guys also reiterated when I came up there. And that's why all of like our coffees have a story behind them and also a charity attached to them that we've recently started doing. And so I also knew that that wasn't enough though. I wanted something that wasn't the easiest route because I felt like that would kind of make it or break it, and that's why I, started doing the bus of it's not just a normal coffee shop, it's literally a coffee shop on wheels that can go anywhere and has all the equipment and, bells and whistles that it's not you have to come to me, I can come to you, and I can go and take this coffee everywhere, basically.
Yeah, the coffee bus is rad. My son saw it this morning and he was like, "This is really awesome." I was like, "Cool." I'm having podcast with this guy this morning and he's like, "Really?" So we will talk about the bus for sure. I just don't want to skip topics because I have so many questions about your coffee itself first. Uh, so okay, one question which came up right now is that you said you each of these coffees is attached to certain charity. Can you give us an example? How does this work? If, for example, I'm a small business owner, I have a coffee or whatever, and how can I make this work so I can attach it to some charity?
So what I have is I have my charity or not my charities. I have my coffee attached to certain charities, like you said, and it's all based on what coffee it is and what story I'm trying to tell through it. Like a couple examples is I have one coffee called the Golden Hour, which is actually a story from every morning at like around 6:30. I have two golden retrievers that wake me up to take them outside, and that's how I start my day. And so that's why it's called the golden hour, kind of like a double meaning. And so that charity is the Lee County Humane Society, and it's to just kind of give back to um, things that I am passionate about and things that I want to see do better in my community and around the world. And I think it'd be a great thing for people to really put in there because so what we do is I do a portion of every time I sell a bag of coffee, whether it be in person or on the website, a portion of that proceed goes towards the charity. And so what I'll do is every year I'll round that up and that's what's going to go towards it. And so every coffee has a different one. Another one is the bag that I actually sent you called the Hustle Express, and that goes towards the Boys and Girls Club, which is to help with financial literacy and just to get them the things that they need and help them, have better lives and continue to grow. And because it's a charity that I've been working with for a few years now that I've worked with them every Christmas and Thanksgiving to just give back and help these kids really have everything that I want them to have. Meaning, like, I want them to have whatever it is that I have, to grow up and be as successful and happy as they can.
Hmm.
And so another one is the Savannah, which is named after my fiance, and it's our sweet blend. So that was like some brownie points right there for me. And that one's connected to Breast Cancer Research Foundation.
Okay.
And so that one is because that's also another story that, breast cancer runs in her family. And that was something that, it's connected to her in a sense, the meaning of it, because it's the sweet blend is named after her. So I was like, I want it to be connected to something that has affected our lives and so many lives of other people that this is what's going to go towards it. And so that's all it is. It's all about just connecting it to something that truly means something to you and has a true meaning and passion behind it. It's kind of like you said, like, I'm very transparent, so I wanted this coffee and these the connection to these charities to reflect the transparency, saying this is the story behind it of this coffee, and so I want it to go towards this charity because it means this to me, and I want it to help those people. And because this company, when I leave this earth, I want this company to have made a difference in not just one life, but millions of lives. That's the goal, is to actually not just do something for me, but do something for everybody else too.
I got it. Uh, okay. Can you give us kind of rough ballpark, like what percentage of these sales go to these charities?
Yeah, so usually I do a 10% of the proceeds, but sometimes that ends up equaling like cuz each bag is like uh only will get to like maybe like 90 cents, so I'll just round it up if it's below that, depending on how much you purchase and like what the total for that bag is. So I'll round it up to like a dollar. So a dot like so that's something I think I'm going to start doing is, doing a dollar per bag goes towards that fund that I'm going to send to the charities. And I don't do it like every time that like I get one it immediately goes to them, or else they'd be getting like 30 cents, every now and then. Instead, I have it rounded up, at the end of the year. That way I can add in my personal money with it to really help. And if it's not, if I see like maybe like I've donated, like $100, $200 and it's like only 199, I'm gonna of course gonna round it up and do what I can to really make a difference. And that's just the starting point of it right now is so it's 10% of the proceeds, and if that has to be rounded up, then we'll round that up to really make a difference and not just say that we're helping, but really to make a difference to help.
I have two free tips for you. I usually, I don't know, I don't do this on a podcast, but let's start to do that. So I checked your website, and I hope we will have time to talk about it. But very fast. So if you want to help even more, you can always add a little checkout thing where people can, let's say, donate another dollar to these charities, and you say, we from your purchase we are donating X amount, and if you want to, add more, it is, you can add another dollar, whatever you decide. And a second, it's a little bit more a critique. I don't know these stories, man. I checked your website and it's not there. And I think that you should add all these stories next to your product.
The stories are on there.
Well, I checked your product and all I saw was a description of the coffee. Like, what kind of coffee, what kind of flavor profile does it have? But I did not see the story and how much money, because I tell you honestly that my problem is that many times there's a lot of charities out there. There's a lot of things we need to, they need help. And I don't know whether they are legit or how much money they actually charity uses for, or how much that their company gives to the charity. I don't know these things, but if it's transparent, I feel much better about that. So
Right, I'm looking at it right now. Apparently, they're not on there. They used to be. I guess when I edited the website, they got messed up. So that's thank you for telling me that because that's something I need to add back in there because I think that is right. I want them to be able to see, what what the story is behind it and
Mhm.
what it's connected to. So thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. You're right.
And I would encourage you to add pictures. Once you donate that money, or meet with those people who are beneficiaries. I know you are just starting, but once you establish those connections, add the pictures there so we can see that. So people feel confident that, yeah, if this is a real deal, this is not only a BS.
Right. I gotcha. I like that idea. I like it.
Yeah, so I'll charge $150 for that, and we can continue, and then we can just add it up on the end. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just send me an invoice and I'll send you something in return.
Something.
Yeah.
I prefer money.
I mean, it's gonna, whatever. We'll talk about it later. We'll figure it out.
I saw on a website that you have K-pods. Why did you decide to have K-pods? How do they sell, and how do you make them?
So I decided to have K-pods because that was something else that I wanted to kind of use to differentiate myself with. Because a lot of these companies that are, especially just starting out, the bigger ones usually always have K-pods. Um, you can't say K cups because technically Keurig owns K cups, so they're K pods,
Okay.
or single serve. So and so I wanted to kind of just do that and really get into, you know, having something different from especially like places that are local here. I want to be able to get into because that's a huge trend is really, these single serve on the go, like you're trying to get it your coffee and go. So I wanted to appeal to that customer basis. Um, and they do well, but one thing that I've been seeing lately is people who are buying, specialty coffee or, like once they see like, oh my God, this coffee's so good, they don't want it in this small cup form. They want the bag. Sometimes they want to grind it themselves. So the K pods are doing well, but to my surprise, the ground bags and whole bean bags are still outperforming them very well.
Um,
Um,
I'm glad
and
to hear that.
yeah, and so and that's something that I enjoy. It's kind of like we talked about earlier. Like you're finding, how to make the best coffee and good coffee, not just quick and on the go coffee. But if that's what you're needing and that's what you're wanting, that's perfectly fine. Like my sister's fiance, he'll buy bag coffees for their house, but then he'll buy the K pods because he's a nurse at the um, on the emergency unit. He'll
Mhm.
take the K pods there because that's something that they really need is, just single serve. Let me get my coffee. And that way they're, alert and focused and everything. So I think it helps for certain situations and certain preferences because not everybody's coffee preference is the same.
Yeah, I'm not judging you. Don't misunderstand me. Not at all. I think that every innovative business idea is great. So I have problems with the K-cups only because of the environmental impact. It's just a simple razor and razor blade business. So, and if you're talking about the financial literacy, as a consumer, you add up how much you would pay, for example, if you buy like a ground beans, for example, a ground coffee, or your pods, like either K cups or the Nespresso pods, you'll be surprised. You'll be really surprised.
I agree, but like I said, it's just because certain preferences and certain situations that it's preferred. But people still really do appreciate having, a bag of coffee that they when they open it they smell it, right? Because
Hmm.
when you open
Yeah.
up a box of K pods, everything's sealed tight, so you're not really getting that smell until you're brewing the coffee. So when people that's another reason people love getting bag coffee is because especially like degassing valves, like you can squeeze the bag a little bit and you're getting this nice like whiff of, fresh coffee. And
Hopefully.
you are with me, you are at
With
least.
yeah, with you definitely.
Yeah,
I'm
with
just
me
saying
at
that yeah.
minimalistcoffeecompany.com. You always do, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But back to your original thing, the way that I make them are I have a filling machine
Hmm.
that once I ground them up, I put them in the filling machine, and each I have it dialed in for each K pot of how much to fill it up. After that, I put them into a heat sealer, and I have custom lids that I put on them, and I heat seal them on there, and then they go to the box. So it's
Awesome.
it's it's a very simple process. But it's one of those things where I had to like learn and do research of how to find out how to do it. But I feel like that's everything in this business and in business in general. It's with Google and the web, you can literally find out how to do anything in like an hour if you really tried.
That's true. I was just curious, like, is it expensive equipment or is it something affordable and you can buy it easily?
Compared to coffee equipment, it's I would say it's on the average range. Like it's
Okay.
not like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna break the bank or I have to go into debt for this, but it's not, like cheap where you can, find it on especially like when you're getting like real equipment, not just like um do like at home type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So it's when you're talking like coffee industry, it's not expensive, but when you're probably talking like the average consumer, it's probably on the little bit more expensive side, if that makes
See,
sense.
can you make Nespresso pots with it or other pots or is it just only K pots?
So I'm pretty sure you could make Nespresso pods with it because it's the cup size on there, but the cup size on there is specific to 51 millimeters, I believe. So I'm not sure exactly what size Nespresso K pods are. I haven't really looked into that. I've only been really looking into the single
Hmm.
serve K pods. So I would assume that you can't like I know for the fact of the filling machine you can, and I'm sure with the heat seal you can. I haven't tried it, so I don't personally know.
Okay, cool. No, I'm not judgy at all. I think that every business is different and every person is different, and that's cool. I think if we would have one type of coffee companies, only the high specialty grade companies, the world will be super, super boring. And that's what I want to invite all to this podcast. People who do different things. Like we had drive-through. I learned about drive-through so much. I don't use them, not because I'm against them. I'm a little bit intimidated. I still didn't go through a drive-through. I never been in a drive-through. Like not coffee, not burgers, nothing.
How do you live?
I know, man. I just park and go and get my burger like that.
An animal.
European.
I'm not
So but learning about it, it's awesome because it's something which is not natural to me, and it's a coffee world, and this podcast is about coffee business, right?
And I remember you talking about that like how like in Europe there's not really that many drive-throughs, right? It's
Mhm.
it's not like as mainstream as it is here in America.
Yeah, I think that we like to take time with our food. We like to take time with our coffee. At least my generation. The new generation is changing. I mean, obviously the McDonald's is a big in Europe. There's McDonald's everywhere, and young generation enjoys it. So maybe at some point people will prefer drive-throughs, and maybe they already do. I'm just not living there. I don't know, but I'd like to take my time with all these. Here's a question for you. How do you roast? And why did you decide to violate my rule when it comes to the size of your roaster?
Oh, okay. So that was straight to the gut.
Oh yeah, man. Oh
So
yeah.
I so I roast on a Mill City Digital 2K, which I love, and you're not gonna make me feel bad about it. I roast with my heart.
There's a silence here because it's like, okay, where should I take this? Like with your heart? I thought
Yeah,
with your
it's
hands.
with love. No, with love.
Okay.
I don't even touch the machine. It's just love. But so the way that I roast is I like to set up a profile before I jump into anything like any good roaster should. I kind of like make a game plan, which I was really, really bad about before because
Before what?
before like going like, so I like, when I got my roaster, like I honestly like just kind of played with it and did like test trial and error, and which was working, but it wasn't really the best way. And so until I started doing y'all's uh you know uh courses, and then I also did like some other free courses, I really learned how to make a plan and execute that plan for the
Mhm.
roasting instead of just guessing and hoping and doing like all of these trial and errors, which I still have to do trial and error. That's any roasting, cooking that you do at all. But I had more of a game plan. And when something didn't go as I planned, I could tell if that worked better, if it worked worse, if I how I could adjust it. It's kind of like, doing one variable at a time instead of saying, well, this one's scrapped. Let's try it again, you know? And so that's how I roast is now. It's I go in with a pretty detailed plan. Um, some of it is from past roasts, some of it's from the roasts I've done at Boot Coffee, and some of it's just experience.
Mhm.
Even though it's not a ton of experience, it's still better than what I was starting out with.
No, I love that you put you inside because I I usually start our courses with when I'm teaching the course. I usually start that. I hope by the end of this week you're going to have more questions than answers because
It had like when I did the introduction and then I had to leave right after the introduction, I had so many questions that I didn't have answered. But that's because like one, I left, early
Mhm.
and I, already had questions that I never got to ask, I guess. And so one good thing is when I came back, I already kind of answered a few of those. So I came in more confident and I had more detailed questions to ask.
Yeah, that always works. And my theory is that more you know, more, and you are interested in a topic, obviously, more you know, more competent questions you have, and those are the best because that's when you can create your own roast, your own craft. And I love the fact that you went that way because some people want recipes from us, like show me how it's done. And yeah, I can do that for you, but I always warn you that yeah, I can give you a few profiles and you follow these. This is cool, and you will be fine. You'll be golden. But why don't you just do you? Because do you want to be the same as other 200 students? Well, obviously, our 200 students or whatever, how many hundred students, they don't do the same profile. But let's say if they would, I mean, that would be, again, a super boring word. So I'm really happy that you went with your own thoughts when it comes to profiling. I'm a bit disappointed about your choice of a size, not the brand. I have no issues with the brand. I have issues with the size of your roaster.
The size of my roaster, so you don't like you told me, and I quote, "Anything under a 10 kilo is a sample roaster to me." And that's what you told me. And so I decided to take that into heart and got a 2 kilo.
Well, no, anything under 5 kilo, anything under 5 kilo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't change my words, man.
Okay. Well, anyway, I decided to get a 2 kilo roaster because the price of it was in my range at the time. And so instead of waiting and trying to like do nothing, I wanted to go ahead and start roasting because worst case scenario is I'm going to at least learn how to do better profiles and roasts on this small machine. And I can always grow into a bigger one. Either A, I can keep this machine, use it as a sample roaster, or B, I could sell it and be able to afford an even better roaster or a bigger roaster, I should say.
Hmm.
So that's why I decided instead of just sitting back and waiting and hoping that something good would happen, I decided to go ahead and take the plunge and get the roaster that I could at the time. It wasn't that I was going against your help and your like guidance. It was I needed to get something that would work for me at the time. So I took what you said into consideration, but then at the end of the day, had to make a true business decision of what's going to be best for me, my company, and how I can truly grow and not just stay in the same spot.
I'm teasing you the same way as you tease me, but I think it's important to realize this, and you did, and you have a plan, which is great. Um, for me, the recommendation for a roster size is always based on my previous experiences. And as you know, as they say with cars, your mileage may vary, right? So your situation might be different, and your situation makes sense to get a smaller roster. But that said, I really hope you get burn yourself and soon you realize I need a bigger roaster, and I hope you will have money because that means you're making money. You're selling a lot of coffee. So I really hope that you going to have a nice 15 kilo roaster in your warehouse soon.
I do because that's something I'm actually the spot that I'm in right now, it's a very small spot and so that's what I'm doing in the next couple of weeks is I'm moving into a larger facility, and I'm hoping that not hoping, but also working hard towards making it so that I have so much that I'll have to get a 15 kilo soon. And that's something that I've already have, you know, in the in my in the future is I already have things set up so that I can be able to do that. So the first step is moving into a larger facility where I have more room, more storage. And then after that, I'm planning on getting a bigger roaster. And like I said, either A, I'll sell the roaster I have and be able to put that towards, a bigger roaster, or B, I can still use that as my sample roaster instead of having to get something smaller and, something that I'll have to, in a sense, relearn. With
Mhm.
this one, I already, know, the kinks of it and everything that I like to really get what I'm looking for. So I'll be able to have that real big production roaster and then be able to use this 2 kilo as a sample roaster.
Or you can use it for, I think for sample roaster, 2 kilo is a little bit big, simply because if you ask for samples, then nobody sends you like a kilo or 2 kilo samples. They usually come in 150 grams or maybe 200 grams. So that's like 8 ounces or under 8 ounces. But what you can use it for is either profiling, or I tell you even better, what we use our smaller roaster in Green Plantation for specialty lots. So, for example, you decide to get into geisha game, or some very expensive coffees game, and that's your roaster where you can roast those very special, specialty lots, because you probably get, orders which are smaller on a smaller scale. So that's always kind of cool to have that kind of size of roaster. But we also like let's not forget that we also discussed, because what I recommended you, if you cannot buy the bigger roaster, I always recommend everyone, before you buy any roaster, try it out with a co-roasting facility, or go ahead and make some agreement with a local roaster that you roast on their machines, which you tried but you couldn't work it out, right?
Right. And so that was something that I'm the type where if I keep being told no, it more so motivates me. So, I was you weren't telling me no, but I remember you told me like, you need to get, a 15 kilo. And if you can't sell that coffee, then why are you in this business at all? And it's not
Uh-huh.
that I took offense to that. I took that as a challenge and like motivation, which I think that's what you were trying to tell me with like, hey, if you can't sell, then don't try to. And I was like, I can sell. Like, let me go and roast the best coffee I can. And so then when I tried to work with a local roaster, and they said, no, we aren't interested in doing that. It wasn't anything harmful. It was just something that they weren't looking to do and or didn't have time or the space to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go and do it myself. I'm just gonna, you know, jump into the wind and you know, just make it work. Like, and that's something that's been motivating me, and something that I think is why, like you said, my business has grown, my online presence has grown because I'm so motivated to do it and make it work and give the best coffee and business that I can.
Yeah, I gave you tough love. Sorry.
Definitely tough love.
Yeah, I figured out you can bear it. And dude, you are so young. You can fail multiple times and still make it. So your time is, you have more time on the planet, hopefully, than me, for example. So
I'm actually really old now. I turned 25 today.
oh my gosh, my heart breaks. I'm not going to tell my age, but what I want to tell you is that you have a time to experiment, and people like me will tell you how things are because we had certain experiences in our lives, and prove us wrong, man. That's the best, when you prove us wrong and say, hey, I can make awesome business with a 2 kilo roaster. I couldn't. I always was thinking that my next roaster is I started with a 3 kilo probat. Sorry, actually I started with a 250 gram up and roast, which is a whatever. I thought that I will just roast coffee for my cafe. Gosh, that was stupid. 250 grams per batch, and it was all, it was just a barrel on fire. It was super weird. Then I had this 3 kilo pro bat, which I was like, oh, this will be it. Nope. Then when I restarted my business in 2012, I was like, I told to my business partners, I said, I'm not going to buy 3 kilo roaster anymore. It has to be at least 5. It must be 5 kilo. Dude, we after a year and a half, we are selling the 5, not selling, but we had to buy a new roaster, a 15 kilo one, which is a great problem to have. But on the other hand, the roasters cost money. And if you want to sell your old roaster, you always lose money on it, big time. You
Right.
don't sell it for a new
It's depreciated without a doubt.
Yeah, it's like a car, right? So we were lucky because the 5 kilo roaster we can use for smaller lots, for specialty lots, and the other one, actually the 15 kilo we sold, and now we have a 25 kilo, but only because it was a Pro Bat, and I was like, oh, I want that Pro Bat. But we would be fine with 15 kilo and 5 kilo, our size of company. And don't forget, our main business is coffee direct to consumer and wholesale. We don't have a cafe, and you have a bus. So that's again a different game because, to sell your coffee on a bus as a beverage, that's, high profit margins. So that might make sense.
Right. No, I agree. I agree, and that's a problem that I'm excited to have. Is once I'm able to grow past it. There's so many different avenues that I can use that roaster for once I get a bigger one. Which some of the ideas you've given me, like having some, like I could always have somebody else come in there and use that one. Because if I'm not using it, I'm using like a bigger production roaster. Then I can rent that one out. Because I'm only roasting 2 days out of the week. The rest is, working on the uh using the bus, going to events, marketing, wholesaling, everything like that. And so it could, end up being a continuous uh profit because of it. And so I that's something else that I appreciate you giving me the idea is using that uh not only for myself but can help others, which in turn helps my business, and also the whole goal of bringing better coffee into the state and the world.
hmm I was surprised that in Alabama, or near you in Alabama, you didn't find any roaster who will rent time on the roasters. And I kind of understand their gut feeling is like, oh, he's going to be my competitor. But truthfully said, you will be the competitor no matter what. A, why wouldn't I have some profit from my future competitor? Maybe I find a future partner because I say, hey, Gleason has these awesome ideas. Hey man, let me invest in you and let's make business together because your coffee will be very different from mine. And this way I can venture out to different worlds, which is always my situation in Green Plantation. We do specialty world, but hey, I'm always looking into like, can I do some other kind of coffee and, basically play on that field. I can't, but maybe if I find somebody in Slovakia who can, I invest in that. And the third thing, what you can do is that many people want to do businesses. They like, I'm going to make a business, and fast they realize how hard work it is, and maybe it's not for them. So again, you get out one guy very fast without doing deep into your sales because they rent your roaster after like I don't know, a few months they realize I cannot move that much coffee, and they're out. So there's multiple benefits to letting people use your roasters. Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and that's something that like I've definitely, like I said, I'm always looking towards the next day, but I'm always planning ahead for the next year or so. And so that's something that I have already like kind of planned out of how I can do that, and what that would look like. And I'm excited, just to be able to get to that point where I'm able to rent that out, because I think that'll be another milestone in my, coffee career and the business, being able to not worry about having to roast on that one, saying like, oh, this is an extra one, like let me rent this out. It's a milestone of saying, hey, like you've gotten this far, like let's see where else it can go.
Yeah, and all of these people will have to learn to roast, so just send them to Boot Coffee, right?
Yeah, I'll tell them to go to Boot Coffee, and I'd be like, look, just find the guy with the really thick accent who's gonna try to make you feel bad about yourself, and then that's
Ah,
how you know you're in the right spot.
oh no, man! I was just going to ask you, like, okay, what was your experience with Boot Coffee? How was your
I
experience with Boot Coffee?
I had a great experience with Boot Coffee. I got I think one thing that I enjoyed that most people aren't going to is that I got to go and learn from William himself the first time, and then I got to go learn from Daniel the second time,
Mhm.
right? And so I got two completely different learning styles from it. The only thing that was the same was, you were there both times, and so it was kind of that was like um the constant is like you were there, and so like the way that you were trying to like talk to me about business and teaching me about certain types of coffee, and like that you've introduced me to William, and I actually got to buy coffee from him to
Oh, you did? So we are talking about William, my former partner from Unleashed Coffee, who is a Brazilian coffee farmer, right?
right.
Awesome.
And I, I
Cool.
I actually got to I'm roasting his and using those as espresso beans now, and I got the chance to actually use those because I told you this past weekend, it was my first time debuting the bus and working on it, and I got to use those as my espresso, and they were raved about. And so really happy with that, and I'm really excited to be in a partnership with him with the coffee beans at it's FTF. I don't remember what does that mean?
It's
His
his
company.
company. I
But
forgot. I'm sorry.
okay, so now we're gonna have to be
We
bad
put
about
it.
that.
We can put it in a show notes,
There you go. Put in
and
the
I'm
show
sure.
notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
if you,
he's working with me to make sure he's a true you know lover of coffee and a good guy who he actually so when he I we'll come back to that. But yeah, so I got to learn, two different styles from Wilhelm and then also from Daniel, and it was really great. I got to meet different people on both, and it was a great experience. But
awesome.
I have nothing bad to say about my experience with Boot Coffee.
And
It
if
was
you,
exactly what I was hoping for and looking for both times.
awesome, thanks. And if you would have something wrong, I just cut it out, so don't worry.
If
No,
I
you.
said something wrong, you would have cut it out?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, I wouldn't. And, I. If you listen to this podcast, I usually, take the good and bad. That was my part of my joke, and you didn't get it. Yeah. Bad joke. Yeah.
It wasn't a bad joke, it just wasn't a good one.
You already repeating yourself. You did that to me once already before, and I felt very bad. I had to hide in a corner after that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's okay. We'll go from there. I'm not gonna make you feel bad.
No, okay, good. Good. So, I'm not teaching the SCA roasting class yet. I will at some point. So usually Willem is the one who is teaching the Q grader course. Daniel will stay definitely with for barista and brewing and some of the sensory and some of the roasting class, and I will take on the roasting and sensory when I pick up my creds. But also one of my favorite courses at Boot is definitely the Roast Lab Pro, which now I have liberty to remake it a little bit, and it's great because we're starting I think on Monday tomorrow, and I make it much more business oriented. I make it much more, on the SCA roasting course we have to use those papers to track the profile. Remember that?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which I think it's very hard because you don't focus on. So there's so many things happening in the roaster, so you focus sometimes too much on that paper, and it's just like very hard. I understand that the need of it. So if you do SCA roasting course, I'll definitely be going to use those. But in the business course, I want to show you the software, ease you into Artisan, Cropster, whatever use. We have the Gleason software because I think with that you can just like it's just faster, to get into the things. And I want to invite people from around who are running businesses and make it like afternoons about you guys asking business questions, these people, people who already made it or just making it. So I want to make it a little bit more business and fun oriented. So you learn the roasting, but you also will learn much more about the business aspect of running a roasting business.
I like that idea because I think that's something that wasn't really looked at much. That was something that you kind of were putting your like since because you were when you were there, you were more so just helping set everything up and like giving like roasting tips and everything, but you were also giving tips and ideas on business as well. But that was just something I think you were just doing, because of your love for
Mm-hmm.
coffee and like wanting to help see everybody succeed. But I think that's a great idea, is having kind of more of a business oriented side of it as well.
Yeah, that's but because SCA coffee roasting is about coffee roasting. It's not about business. It's about that's why I said they probably sign up for the wrong course, question mark, because I would love to have you in a business course. I'll be awesome, because that's where the business side comes out and you are so entrepreneurial so you can actually contribute. And I hope that students will also contribute with ideas. I remember when Marcus was doing this course, the Coffee Lab Pro, he used to have these last day to create your own product. And I'm totally stealing that. And I used to be the judge. So basically, the idea is that you learn roasting obviously before, like the days before, and you have an idea what you want to achieve with your roast. So on Thursdays, people develop their own blends, espresso blends, or their cheap coffee or expensive coffee. So they had to come up with some vision for their coffee, right? They had to roast it, execute it, and serve it to us and explain what they tried to achieve, and we gave points on that. And we then said who was the winner, and it was fun. It was great. I used to be the judge on it, so I'm just stealing the idea from Marcus. Sorry, bud. And I'm just going to do it this Thursday because I think that'd be great. It's fun. All right, dude. Let's move to your bus because I really, really, really want to talk about your bus. So tell me the story behind that. It's a school bus, right?
It is, yeah. So it's not like a full like 45-foot school bus. It's like a 20-foot, so it's like a shorter, like almost like a shuttle bus.
Uh huh.
Um, but yeah, so actually, it used to be my sister's, because she has a boutique that, one thing that she did is she has a 40-foot school bus that she turned into a mobile boutique. And then she got this one just for like, more so like being able to take places. And that was a huge thing. And she was getting ready to sell this bus, which is the shorter one. And I don't remember if it was my idea or my fiance's idea that, like, hey, that'd be really cool to have that as like a coffee bus, you know? And I was like, yeah, that would be cool. And so I started going through my mind of everything that like I could do to it, and what it would look like, and all this. So then I went ahead and pulled the trigger. I was like, look, let me buy this from you, and I want to turn it into a coffee bus. So I bought it from her, and immediately started to regret it, because
Oof.
I didn't realize how much work was needed on this bus, because they hadn't used it in a while because of COVID. So it was sitting in the parking lot for a while. Well, uh, apparently somebody stole like the emergency hatch off the top, which we had no idea. Either that or it like fell off something. I don't know. And so the inside had been rained on, and it ruined the subflooring in there. And that's something that me and my dad like actually we me and my dad are actually the ones who redid the bus to the boutique in the first place. It wasn't somebody else did it. So I knew everything about this bus, but then I was like, wow, there's so much more work that I have to do. But another thing was like the battery was messed up, just some like little things like that. And so when I say regret, I mean I was just like, ah, this is gonna be a lot more work than I thought. But I had that vision in my mind, and I was like, I'm sticking to it because I think this would be something awesome that, like I said, would differentiate me from all other places and just get people talking about it, right? Because it's like you showed your son today, because it's not something you see every day where this like a mobile coffee bus. It's
Hmm.
you see like these big, food trucks that have coffee, and it's not as uh uh interesting to me, I think, because it's just a simple food truck, which nothing wrong with them, but it's not like, oh wow, look at that. That's something that you don't see every day. And so that's what I wanted. So I for the next 2 months was that's what I did every day, like all day, every day was just working on this bus, fully regutting it all the way down to where there was nothing in it but just the um, metal that goes around the bus, the frame of it basically, and then the front driver's seat. So I took all that out, put in new flooring. I built a little countertop that I can use for serving. I put storage underneath it. Built a space for the fridge that goes in there, and then also a sink, and then a hand washing sink, and just storage like as many places that I could put it. And I didn't really have any help. I had help putting the fridge in there, but everything else I did myself. And so I didn't have really anything to go off of. I think I watched a couple of YouTube videos where people put, certain things in a bus for coffee, but it wasn't like dedicated to be a coffee bus.
Hmm.
And so it was more so me like kind of sketching things out in my mind, putting it on paper, make like estimates of everything, and how long this is gonna be, what do I need to cut, and like what I want it to be. And at the end, I was really proud of it. Everything kind of came to life in my vision, and I got to, like I said, use it for the first time this past weekend, which is on the 8th and the 9th of October. And I learned that there's a lot of things that I need to fix on it, which you don't know until you actually get to take it out and test drive it, basically, and really put it to work. And I didn't realize how many people, or I guess I underestimated how many people this coffee bus would attract and bring in to serve coffee to. And so this weekend, like, I got out to the place that I was going at 6 a.m. and I didn't really have anybody until about 6:30, and then they just kind of drizzled in. Well, from about 6:45 to 11 a.m., I was slammed packed the entire time. There was a line wrapped around like where I was, and I was just going, and then my sink went out. So, like I said, I was using just distilled water and hand washing everything after everything I made. And then the espresso machine started messing up because it wasn't, doing the right pressure, so I had to, like, fix that, and it was just, like, constant, like, I learned things that I need more of, things that aren't really necessary, where I can really, like, put everything, and so it's a very it was a learning experience for me, and so thankfully now, the next time that I'm scheduled to go out there, it's not for 2 weeks, so I have 2 weeks to fix all of the kinks in the bus and get it really ready where it's a lot more uh, able to flow better. And I can kind of cut that line in half where not as in like, oh, there's not as many people. It's they're not having to wait as long. So I can now get more and more people in there because they're seeing like, oh, this line isn't, 45-minute wait. It's like we're getting in, we're getting out. And it's still that quality coffee that they're getting without having to sacrifice anything.
No, that's awesome. I mean, you figure this out, I'm sure. You need to improve the efficiency because of the lines. It's sad, I always wonder about that. That some people are lining up in restaurants. In Europe, we don't do that. We just move on to the other restaurant, But it's really cool that you think that way. So, what kind of beverages are you serving on it? On like espresso stuff?
Yeah, so right now it's I have like for hot coffees, I have just regular classic like the coffees that I have, I'll brew those and just have that for regular cup of coffee. I'm doing latte, different flavors of latte. So that's one thing is like I'm actually I kind of like just did my own research and like YouTube videos really a lot of how to make certain coffees, and I forgot that uh, the boot coffee training has that. So the coffee courses. So I just looked at that. I was like, okay, I can literally go into this and really help me flow better and make better beverages now. So I'm glad you reminded me of that because I'm gonna go look at the barista stuff and watch all those videos.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, and so then I have like a macchiato, and then cold brew and iced coffee that's already prepared because cold brew you have to let sit for a certain while. So I have a certain amount of that in there, and then I also have seasonal flavors like the pumpkin spice that everybody always wants to get. Um, and then I have some drinks for kids like a homemade hot chocolate recipe, and then just some like chocolate milk so they can if their parents get a nice coffee, the kids can get
Absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
chocolate milk with whipped cream and feel like they're a part of it as well instead of just their
Absolutely.
parents getting something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
And
cool.
so that's all I'm doing on there at the moment. I hope to expand that menu once I can get, like I said, I'm gonna work on efficiency and then I'll work on expanding.
Yeah, so I was just going to tell you that maybe before you like before the next time, maybe you can actually shorten the menu and improve the efficiency, and then keep adding stuff back as the things go better. Because I mean, sometimes a big menu means too many options, and people think a lot when they're like, oh, what do I want? And then people waiting behind, that. And second, obviously, it takes you longer time to prepare because you don't have the skills yet. You don't know where the things are. And once you kind of shake into that, it will be easier, right? It will be faster. And one thing which I didn't see on a bus, and I was my question, because one thing which I don't know, I just kind of like on these American school buses, you have this stop sign which kind of like comes up when the bus stops and the kids are getting off. So do you have something like that?
I do, and it says, I'll send you a picture of it. It says, "Stop, coffee time."
Awesome. I was just
So
going to say that.
yeah, so it swings out and it says, "Stop, coffee time." And, like, I have the bus lights on. Like, what I'll do is I'll have the bus just idling while I'm doing it, and so all the lights are blinking, the stop sign's out, and it's blinking, and then I have, speakers on the outside of it, so I can be playing music to, like, kinda, like, have, like, the right mood and vibe for people coming to get coffee instead of just this quiet bus that some random guy's on.
That's awesome. Okay. I didn't see that. I was like, you have to do that. You already doing that. That's great.
Yeah. That was like a bit like it's so I got the whole bus when I got it all like the logos and stuff on it. That was something I was really big wanting to do was making sure it said like stop coffee time.
Awesome. All right. Let's move on because the time goes on, and I have two more things to discuss. One very shortly on marketing. Um, One thing which I noticed that when you came first time, I don't think if you even had your social media up or not, I wasn't following them. But now you have them up. There's lots of things happening. You have your own videos. I saw that you kind of like talk through your day sometimes or about your coffees. You have quotes on your Instagram, and you have influencers. And when I looked at those people, they are not like, rinky dinky, I became influencer yesterday, but, some established people. How did you get them?
Um I think the biggest thing is I owe a lot to my fiance and my sister. They are some marketing and social media wizards because
Ah,
they've done a lot of work to because my sister, like I said, she owns a boutique. It's called the Tiny Closet, and she is probably one of the best marketers that I have ever seen in my life. And I don't mean that just to, just say just because my sister, but she knows what she's doing. She takes the time to learn it, and that's something that my fiance has also done. And so they are really good at marketing, and it's something that they've helped me with, and it's something that like they'll give me ideas, and I'll just kind of run with those and so the way that I've, worked with these people is because one, like I said, like every day, like I am hustling to meet people, make meetings, get my coffee to them and, try to show where everything can be beneficial, not just to me, but to them as well. And when another thing is like when they see that transparency of like I'm working hard to do that I mean what I say, and like I have an actual story and the work ethic behind it. It's more it's not it's a lot more understanding and like fun to work with in a sense. Like they are excited to work and not just like, oh, this guy just wants to use me. It's okay, I think that a lot is actually being brought to the table that can be beneficial for all parties, right? And so that's another thing. It's like I don't go after people who I think only I would benefit or, or I would only benefit them. It's something that is truly going to help everybody. It's not
mhm.
just being selfish. It's actually wanting to make a community out of it and continue to grow that.
Going back to the influencers, how did you get them? You want to hide this information from us?
No, it's just try you go for it. If somebody responds yes, then they respond yes. If they respond no, then you go then you just keep going. It's you're not worried about that's any sales in general. Like you're not worried about if you get a no or that's it. You go,
Mhm.
okay, got a no. Let's go to the next person.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Because if somebody says no, it could be just because okay, that's not working for them. That's not what they need right now. Like there's a new place that I'm gonna be selling the coffee in, as a merchant or a vendor, I should say. And at first, I applied to be with them, and they basically said, no, that's not what we're looking for right now. Well, last week I got a message from them and everything, and now I'm going to be working with them. And it's because at the moment that's not what they were looking for. So I was like, okay, well, just keep me in mind if needed. And so you know, um, and now it works for them and for me as well. So that's a new partnership, and
Who is that?
it's called the Merchant and the Maker, and it's in our mall here, and it's just everything in there is vendors,
Hmm.
and so I'll be in one of their new vendors there. I'll be and have my own table and everything set up that I can sell the coffee from, like that I can
Awesome.
place in there. And that's all it is. And I think that's one thing that like I said, I work in mortgages, so calling real estate agents and people, I've learned like, okay, if somebody says no, I'm not gonna get offended from that and be like, "Oh, I suck." It's like, "Okay, well, on to the next one." Like let's find somebody and something that works for it, like that it truly is, like I said, beneficial and that at the right timing.
Yeah, I noticed that about you when you were on the courses that you're much more assertive than anyone else, and in a very polite way, by the way. It's not like some people can be annoying when they are kind of cold calling and stuff. We are very assertive and in a very polite way, which is a big plus when it comes to pitching your product, when it comes to pitching to influencers. Can you give us any kind of like idea that are these influencers who you pay money to, or you just send them coffee and they did these videos for you, or do you share profits, or how does this work between you and them?
It depends. Like some people, like I just have like sometimes custom stuff with people. It all just depends. Like some just want free coffee. Some they to post certain things you have to actually pay them. But I try to shy away from that because that's not really a partnership. That's just I could go buy an ad anywhere. I'm not worried about buying ads. If I want to buy an ad, then I can
Hmm.
do like the Instagram and Facebook things where like I'm promoting mine to a certain amount of people. It's whenever I'm working with somebody, I really enjoy having it as they believe in the company, they believe in the coffee, and like I said, it's just something that is benefiting everybody.
Do do you think you had any sales from these influencers?
Oh, without a doubt, I have. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like it's if I'm not having success with it, then I'll go back and look and see why I didn't. If and maybe it's just that's not the right um
Audience.
following or
Hmm.
audience that goes with us. And so it's not that like, oh, I don't like this person. It's like, okay, maybe like our audiences don't either overlap or they aren't the same thing. So it's like, hey, thanks, like I'm glad we got to work together, like maybe in the future, maybe just as friends, customers, whatever it is. It's like I said, it's all about that. If something doesn't work out, you move on to the next one and you find out what's going to work for you, your business, and everybody that's associated with it.
Anyway, you also have a right to ask me a question as a reward for all your time you spent with us. So do you have a question for me?
One question. It's a ballsy question, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. All right.
Hmm.
Would you actually be a customer of my coffee if you did not know me?
I don't think so, because I roast my own coffee, because I don't buy any coffee from anyone. If I were in Alabama, definitely. If I'm in your region locally, definitely. If I don't roast my, let's change this a little bit. Let's say I don't roast coffee. I'm not in coffee business. Let's say I'm making wine or whatever. It's my different business. And then if I see you online in California, probably not, because I feel very strongly about local products. I will probably buying some local roaster here. But if I were in Alabama, definitely, because I love your branding. I love that you are very different. I like that. I will definitely visiting your bus regularly if it's close to me. I just love that. I mean, it's super cool. It's like you said. I mean, I love food trucks too, but there, as you said, they're food trucks. And this is very different, and it's just kind of like I like crazy people, man. I just like when you come up with a totally nutty idea, and even though you said that it was very hard to set it up, and you still have problems with it, and it's an old bus, but it's awesome. I love that.
Things exciting. Like
Mhm.
like whenever like everything was like going wrong at one point, on our debut, like people were talking. I was being very, like I said, being very transparent. Like, like this and this has gone wrong, but it's what keeps things exciting, and I just keep going. You just kind of pivot and go from there. Life would be really boring if everything went to plan every time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so. Did it answer your question, or do you have?
That answers my question, and I like that
Awesome.
answer. I like the answer.
Yeah. By the way, I don't buy coffee from anyone, and that's kind of sad. I was actually thinking that maybe with Boot Coffee we should start some kind of like evening coffee club, or let's say weekend coffee club, because nobody drinks coffee in the evening, where we revisit or retaste, or what do we call it, local roasteries, because I don't even know what they do. And there's a lot of people here who would want to try different coffees. I randomly on one weekend happened to me that I had my buddies there and somebody else came, and I showed them some coffees, and they were so interested in that, and I said, we should do this every weekend. I was like, yeah, maybe with the local brands and help them out too. As you know me, I love to help people, especially now that they're not my competitors. I'm kidding, but I love to help. That's why we have this podcast, right? That's why I love to talk to students after lunch or during the lunch, when they have all these questions which we cannot address in SCA course because there is a given curriculum, but I'm happy to talk about. So I would love to help. I really hope that you will burn yourself on your size of the roaster. I really hope, because that would mean that you're doing so well that you need to sell more coffee, and that's awesome, right?
As soon as I realize that I am burnt out on that size roaster, I'm gonna send you a selfie of me doing a thumbs up buying the new one.
Yeah, awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much for all the tips and all the stories. This was fun.
I enjoyed it. I've done a couple podcasts, and this is probably my favorite one. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. So have a good one.
You too. I appreciate you having me on. Super unprofessional hanging up on your guests like that.
I didn't hang up on you, man. It's something with your internet.
It wasn't me. I have perfect internet.
I have perfect internet too. Maybe it was just something between California and Alabama.
They just don't like it. They don't want to see us succeed.
They don't want us to be friends. It's all politics, man. Anyways,
Because you voted for Biden.
I didn't vote for Biden, man. I didn't.
I'm just kidding.
I wasn't a citizen then.
I was about to say, like, you weren't even a citizen. You couldn't vote.